Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Three Amigo Isolation podcast with me, John. Hit it, bike. Over to you, Julian.
Hey, thanks, Johnny. Take it away, Alan. Come on.
Thanks, Julian.
Hey, here we are. Welcome, everybody. I'm hoping that it's working. Can everybody hear me? I hope so. Alan, you're there? Yeah. John, you're here?
Well, I can see him, and I'm here.
Awesome. Hey, Alan, you're sounding quieter than you were before.
How's that?
That's better, yeah. So for the first time now, I figured out how to stream on both YouTube and Facebook. So that's really cool.
Cool.
So we're live to our 20 subscribers on YouTube and thousands on Facebook, hopefully. But so if you're watching, please share this on Facebook and invite other people to join us. Welcome to the Three Amigos Isolation Podcast. My name's Julian. And just wanted to welcome you guys and gentlemen, how you doing?
I'm doing really good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You look pretty chilled out.
Have you been drumming, Alan? Like 10 minutes before you came on?
No. I spent all day snaking my kitchen sink. I think there's a big grease plug somewhere down in the basement pipe as it goes into the stack. So I've been trying to snake that sucker out all day.
There you go.
That's more than people needed to know.
At least we're talking about your plumbing in your home. We're not talking about different kinds of plumbing. I mean,
yeah.
No, we don't need to talk about that.
And we're only 4 minutes in as well, so
that's true. It could get better. Hey, so
all right,
guys,
let me tell you a bit about that. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, exactly. So guys, up until this time, we've been having special guests coming in and people and I think we've been focusing a little bit on how do we survive, how do we stay well, how do we maintain our wellness in these crazy times, times of isolation, times where we're uncertain of what's going on. And I wanted to just kind of bring in a special guest. So today we've got Trevor Uruski, who's an amazing musician. He's also an evolutionary human being. But before we bring in Trevor, I just really want us to kind of maybe shape our dialogue towards how do we evolve in this time, right? It's not just about surviving, it's about thriving. And how do we develop pieces of ourselves, develop an aspect within ourselves in this time of pulling back, perhaps, and develop skills and things that we can do that we can continue to carry in our day-to-day life. So that's kind of where I want to go. You guys good with that?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, let's do it.
So briefly, let's just take 30 seconds each to share our first time we've ever met Trevor. First impressions. Who wants to go first?
I don't mind going first. First time I met Trevor was oh my gosh, I think it was the Friday night drum circle, and I was there for it was the weekend we had the facilitators training, and Alan is when we did it together. And I walked in to the room and all I could hear was I'm like, what on earth is that sound? And I just saw this guy sat down, at the time, long hair, like big beard, just this cool looking guy. And I just liked him instantly. And then it's just kind of evolved from this. So that was the first time I met Trevor. And Julian, you're right. Very, very lovely human being. Very nice person. That was more than 30 seconds. Sorry.
Alan.
Hey, 30 seconds. I met Trevor at the Friday night drum circle, and I'd always wanted to play the didge. I knew nobody in the world who played the didge, even after having lived in Australia for 3 years. And I walked in, and here was this guy just making the most beautiful sound I've ever heard from the oldest wind instrument on the planet. And I remember just being like John, just totally blown away, like, what the heck?
Mm.
How can he do it? And it was beautiful.
It still amazes me how he does it. Like, it's such a pleasure facilitating when Trevor is there, because Trevor basically holds the circle in the palm of his hand, and there could be 5 people or there could be 255 people, and he carries the whole circle, and he could go all night. Well, at least I think he would if I asked him really nicely. But
and we're not talking about plumbing here, so that's pretty good. Anyway, for me, my first time that I met Trevor was, I think, about the same time, either at a volunteer gathering or at the Friday night. And immediately, when I was still kind of an apprentice and working with Judy Atkinson, the founder of Circles of Rhythm, I was like, we need to highlight this guy, because what he's doing is incredible. It's just unreal. And she's like, oh, yeah, okay, like whatever you want. And I was like, you need to get a mic. Let's get an SM57, a little Bose system. And I just like started getting all this stuff. And Judy had no gear at that point. And I got her on a little headset, and I put the little Bose system in the corner. And I was like, I ran a chord on Trevor. And then all of a sudden, absolutely, when you guys came in, it was at the point where Trevor really evolved as a musician, but not only just a musician. He's an intuitive sound healer, really. He's an intuitive sound person, where he comes in and he contributes through the didgeridoo, the flute, the shruti box, the voice, the drum, whatever it is, and he intuitively shifts the space like you've described, John. So without further ado, I'm going to unmute your mic there, Trevor, and take it away. A man who needs no introduction, but we gave it to him anyways. Trevor Uruski.
Thanks, everybody. Yeah, appreciate it. I'm just going to be playing the shruti box tonight, the ditch and the shakers here, and I got some knee bells going on. So we'll just zen out for a few minutes here.
Woo! Nice job.
So
eh?
good.
Come
Whoa!
on. That was amazing.
You know, even if the sound quality was like extra robotic,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
actually really quite impressive.
Was
And-
was anybody else like I agree with you, Julian. Like the sound, like it wasn't 100%, but still I was tapping away. Like it was all like I could see you guys in the screen. I could see Alan with his sticks. I could see you like doing the djembe and everything else. And and for a moment I completely didn't realize that I was not in a drum circle. I wasn't like sat down, and it was only when I realized it was just, that was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I'm sitting at my drum kit right now. My computer's sitting on my snare drum. And as I was listening to Trevor, I was thinking, man, we got to get together and do something, like the four of us. That is just to have that. Yeah.
Well, so I don't know if you know this, but, and Trevor, you can keep yourself unmuted. On Fridays, those of you who are tuning in maybe for the first time, on the Fridays, I've been putting up these live streams or live, releases, I suppose, more so of meditations and drumming. And I think, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I think we could potentially be socially distanced or physically distanced enough to highlight the sound of Trevor, and maybe add some drumming and maybe somebody behind, because we're under 15 people. The four of us could find a way to not touch each other, take proper precautions. And I've got some mics set up now, and I've dusted off some old sound interfaces and things like that. Things that they're like literally obsolete. I had to pull out an old computer for it to work. But I am just in love with creating sound again. And Trevor, man, I really want to highlight you. So Trevor, you gave us an introduction through music. Why don't you introduce yourselves with words?
Of course. My name is Trevor Uruski. I've been a sound worker in Calgary here since pretty much I discovered the didgeridoo back in March of 2011. And I cut my teeth with a guy named Gary Diggins. He taught the art of sonica, which is like creating soundscapes, custom soundscapes for people live on the spot, and for healing purposes, usually healing and transformation, upliftment. And of course, I found the Circles Rhythm Drum Circle. Again, expanded my repertoire and confidence just playing with the Circles Rhythm Drum Circle. And like, I'm eternally grateful to Judy and Julian and Jamie and the whole Circles of Rhythm tradition here, because it contributed so much to my life. It gave me a great place to come. And yeah, now I'm doing sound work out of less stress for body, mind, and soul. Of course, they're closed down right now while we're managing the COVID thing. But yeah, we're still doing little sound contributions. Just last weekend, my partner and I, Jolene, we did a sound bath together online. So that was really a lot of fun, and that was new territory for us. It was really fun. But anyways, there you go. I think pretty caught up.
Trevor, thanks for coming on. I typed in, there's a little chat that we can kind of chat to each other. And like when you were doing that, I just simply put, this guy is a legend. It's just, because you really are. And in the sense of a person, musician, Friday nights, everybody loves you. We love you, I love you. But with the guests that we've had on in the past few weeks, we've been kind of asking, with everything going on and the social isolation, the distancing, and how is everybody kind of staying sane? And it could be with a musical link, or so. Like how are you staying sane at this moment in time, Trevor?
Well, thank you for asking. For myself, it's really a matter of not exposing myself too much to all the COVID news and material and stuff like that. I'm aware of it, and it's one of those things where you find out about the important things. You don't have to be over-informed, and and I just take the reasonable precautions, but I don't let that stop me from enjoying things and staying in a playful mode. I think playfulness is like the antidote. Gratitude and playfulness is like the antidote to fear and depression. You can't be fearful and grateful or playful at the same time. They just can't be in the same room together. And being with the girlfriend and continuing to make my offerings to the community, going out into the nature every day at lunchtime. I get my work fortunately is still going, but I get a lunch break every day, and I utilize it. I'll just pop out to the local park, and I'll just do a little exercise and meditation in the sun. Especially today, it was beautiful outside. Just things like that, just little things every day, just to keep myself positive.
Trevor, Julian had talked at the beginning before you were on about evolution and how we evolve through this process. And I'm wondering, maybe you could speak a bit around your evolution as a musician, how you started, with the Didge, being introduced to it, back in 2011. So let's talk a bit about that, about the evolution of Trevor as a musician.
Wow. Music came into my life just like it almost T-boned my life, like like an intersection, a collision in an intersection. I was going to the Center for Spiritual Living, and all of a sudden I just had this impetus. I need to do music and sound work. And I actually stopped some other work that I was doing, including some volunteer work, just to go do music and sound. It just came to me. It's like, I got to go do it. And it wasn't long when I heard the sound of the didgeridoo through Shine Edgar, the minister there at Center for Spiritual Living, knew him and brought him in. And I instantly was, in love with the sound. And of course, the universe is always listening to your thoughts and your vibrations. So I found the advertisement they had on the One World Drum website. Hour-and-a-half lesson, 4-foot starter teak didge. That was all I needed. Now, once I found that, I just found my way immediately, because it was a healing modality for me to help me heal my life and my heart and mind, from a space of, feeling just broken and worthless, and not going from there, and then realizing that, through the sound of the didge, I have something here that I can give to the community, and it's something that people find helpful and uplifting. And naturally, I flowed. I just got connected through the different spheres, connecting spheres. Singing circle, drum circle. I found out about this guy I mentioned before, Gary Diggins. Teresa Rose is his contact here in Calgary. He lives out in Guelph now, and but he was coming to Calgary regularly for about 4 or 5 years, and giving workshops on how to do improvised sounding, and teaching us all the elements of doing improvised sounding for people. And especially in the sonica circle, where you've got 1 or 2 in the middle, and then a group of sounders around the outside, and they custom create a soundscape for that person. And let me tell you, it is powerful, such a powerful modality, when I think mostly when your community comes together to love on you and support on you in that way. It is a magic carpet ride, and it can be so profoundly healing, transformative, uplifting. But on the flip side, sometimes it can be, just just an experience, you know, and you still feel like exactly the same person coming out the other side of it. But it's always, you know, very sweet, you know, sweet experience. But, you know, with that, you know, I was still doing that when I found my way to the drum circle, and, you know, still wasn't that confident. Obviously, it just found the Didge in March 2011. But like Julian mentioned, it didn't take you guys long to stick a microphone in front of me and just start listening to the sound I was adding to the drum circle, you know, bringing the intuitive sounding experience with what I got with Gary and Sonica. It was a very natural progression just to, it's like noticing how amazing the drum circle is by itself, and what it brings and what it stands for and what it is and what it does, and the energy in that space every time, you know, a group of people gets together. And you know, I loved it. It was my Friday night home for, you know, several years, and my healing space and my way to contribute to the community and feel like I had a place where I could go where I felt like I belonged and it mattered. People noticed, you know, when I showed up, which was amazing for me. And yeah, you know, it's just, I'm not sure what else to say from there, because it just kept deepening and expanding as the years went by, and I kept coming to the drum circle, and I got more confident, and my ability just kept expanding. And obviously, I kept pushing myself because I just loved it. I just played every day.
So
It's
if you
just-
could,
yeah, go for
sorry,
it.
if you could look back, you know, 15 years ago, the people that knew you, those closest to you, do they see a different Trevor today?
Oh, definitely. You know, unfortunately, some people did step away from my life because I became a completely different person. You know, I actually had a friend say, you know, the Trevor I knew is dead, which was shocking. But at the same time, I remember thinking he needed to die because that person was killing him. Frankly, you know, I had such a low opinion of myself. So, you know,
Wow.
doing sound work and spiritual transformation, changing my understanding of myself through spirituality, that gave me a new foundation to stand upon and build upon, which, you know, suddenly I was able to recognize my worth and my value. You know, even now, I'm still deepening into that. You know, it never seems to stop.
That's pretty heavy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty intense, right? But yeah, it's like, it's one of those things that just keeps on evolving, and just grateful, you know, just I just love having this modality to give the community, and it's so well received, you know.
Thanks for
Magic.
asking that question, Al, and Trevor. Thanks for answering so honestly about kind of the shift that happened from, you know, the moment pre didgeridoo Trevor, post didgeridoo Trevor, and just what you described in the last 5 minutes is, there were so many points. I'm just like, oh no, I got to talk about this. I got to talk about this. You mentioned just how, just with a brief lesson, you were able to take off. That's incredible. You mentioned about how you integrated yourself in a community, and a newcomer, as a newcomer into a community, but you found your people, you surrounded yourself in it. You invested all, you know, in your instrument immediately. You know, I think a lot of people are cautious to invest. That's a big thing, you know, just invest in the thing, right? And then you started practicing it regularly. And you talked a little bit about how it was a healing modality for you. So you're coming into a place of, and you've shared this story with me before, and you shared just the tip of the iceberg really with all of us here, you know, live with the community. But you know, you came into a place of darkness, a place of kind of challenge, and this instrument, but not only this instrument, you know, you highlighted community, and you know, the process that it took you through is just incredible, and I just would love to spend all night and break it down. But one of the things that I heard at the beginning of when you were speaking was how you just recently did this live stream with Jolene, a sound journey, and that was a push for you. That was a stretch. This is where you're evolving. This is where you're changing. And I actually shared it on Facebook. I don't know if anybody, if people are on the Circles of Rhythm Facebook page, you can go back and find it. But it's really cool. It's really great what you're doing. Tell me more about that.
Well, it was just something that was a growth edge for both Jolene and I, because we'd never done anything live before. It's always just been in person, but live streaming. And, we worked with the owner at Less Stress, and Jen, and she knew some people who said, okay, Jen said, let's do this right. Let's actually go get the equipment we need to do this. And we found this little device that allowed us to hook up like several mics. We had 2 condenser mics and a couple 57s, and that allowed us to capture the sound really well, and really help people have that experience, so they could put on a headset or a nice pair of speakers and actually get a pretty darn good representation of what it would be like to be there live. And obviously both Jolene, well, maybe not obviously, Jolene and I are both experienced sounders now, so that part wasn't so much the growth edge, but just putting ourselves out there in this way, and also figuring out the technical aspects and stuff. That was new. So, but we look forward to doing more of them in the near future.
I'm trying to write things down, because I'm with you, Julian.
It's so much stuff,
I
right?
know, I can't keep up. Because one thing I'm trying to do is, especially over the last couple of weeks, things going on, every day is different, both personally and professionally. So I'm trying to write things down as I go along, and I'm losing track of what I'm writing. I'm 2 pages in already, but what I'm hearing is that, and I think this has kind of been the theme for the past few weeks, is the reason why people get going and people initiate with passion. So it could be music, it could be anything. It's because they feel inspired by something or someone. And I like the quote you used there. It hit me like I was at the intersection. Music did. I think that was really cool, and I think we can all kind of relate to that. And the fact that you've been playing for 9 years and have this musical ability is phenomenal. So my next question is, with a lot of people having a lot of time on their hands now, and we've been saying for the past few weeks, now is the time to try a musical instrument. Is it true that it really takes 10,000 hours to perfect the skill? Like, have you really spent 10,000 hours or more? Because I've seen you do at least 2,000 on a Friday night. But is it true? And especially now with people having their time in their hands, and then there's the flip side, like people have too much time on their hands and they get bored of it. So what would you say to anyone that is, wanting to learn the didge? Like I got a didge behind me. Alan graciously lent me his, yeah. And I'm 11 hours in, and I can safely say I'm not even close. But what would you say to someone who has the time now to invest in music, in learning a musical instrument or perfecting a new skill, but kind of having too much time as well? What would you say to someone who is kind of in that place of kind of, I want to, but I don't?
Well, I think I can sum it up in 3 words. It's worth it. It will take a significant time, energy commitment, right? Just like learning anything that's worthwhile it's going to take some, work to develop, right? And of course, going in with the right, I remember when I started playing the didge, for some reason, I was able to allow myself the thought, and it was new for me at the time, that, I can already do this. I'm just manifesting my ability. And I went in with that attitude that mind is connected to higher mind, which is connected to all minds who've ever touched a didge. I can already do it. Sorry, I just need to plug in my phone here. I got to move. I didn't have an extension cord.
Well, and maybe, I guess, you know, we're talking about the didgeridoo. Alan, I know that you're a didgeridoo, not only a master on the didge while you're getting plugged in there, Trevor.
Good to go.
But Alan, you're now building the didge. You're building didges. But did you start with these super nice wood didges, or what do you have for people out there who are potentially thinking about this?
Well, yeah, I started by hearing Trevor and being blown away and motivated by Trevor. You know what? If I had never met Trevor, I would never have played the didge ever.
Wow.
If I had never met Julian, if you didn't start working at the Rocky View, I never would have been involved in the drum circles. I think we're all at an intersection right now, and I think, you know, as a metaphor, where do we go? Do we turn left? Do we turn right? Do we go straight ahead? If we go straight ahead, is it the same old, same old? And you talked, Julian, about evolution, and I think going left or right from this intersection, at this intersection, is kind of the evolution of ourselves and what we want to do musically, what we want to do socially, interpersonally, and I think this experience has changed us. And I think when I met Trevor and when I met you and then I met John, I was also at an intersection. I didn't know I was, but yeah, it was an amazing experience.
It's funny you mentioned the intersection, because when you were saying that, it was the same for me. I wouldn't have never ever started drumming or never have been at a Friday night if I hadn't have met Julian and Alan. And then you know, I would have never met Trevor if I hadn't have met Alan and Julian. So it's funny how you're completely right, Alan. When you come to that intersection, and do you turn left? Do you turn right? Do you kind of keep doing what you were doing before? And I always like use this when I speak to my patients as a rec therapist. Do you turn left and you kind of decide to go down the same road and you know, not really being pushed but comfortable, or do you turn right and take new challenges? Because when you take that new direction, it could branch off into so many things. And I think we can all speak to that, and probably our listeners and people at a Friday night. We've all had new experiences, and we've managed to evolve as human beings and do many more other things because we've chosen to take that new direction. And I think especially now, with people being at home and having time, a lot of people are in that position. Do I go left or do I go right? So I really hope that by having this podcast and having, you know, Trevor with us tonight, we can really try and, you know, send some positive energy and kind of influence people in taking that risk and going another direction and trying new things, because it is worth it, Trevor. I completely agree with you.
Awesome. Yeah. It was my saving grace, and you know, the instrument is a very healing instrument. And I remember playing into, I was living downtown at the time. I had an L-shaped hallway, and I would play into the corner because the sound would wash back at me, right?
Yeah.
And so I was just sit there and do self-therapy. It was something I could do that was immediately satisfying, you know. And I think music is like that, where instantly you can start making sound, and then you can notice how it interacts with the way you play with it, you know. And of course the mind can kick up and get judgmental and say it doesn't sound good enough, especially compared to what I've heard and stuff like that. But you just keep coming back to that thought. It's like, I don't have to be perfect all at once, you know. All I have to do is keep going and enjoy what is there to enjoy, you know. Be grateful what is there to be grateful for. Hey, you know, I've got body. I've got, most of us, you know, have a full hand of fingers, and you know, you can always find things to be grateful about with what you're doing in the moment, you know, especially when it comes to music and sound. And if you have that idea in your head that I'm gonna get there to this sound or this ability level that I'm looking for. I'm going to get there. Like, it's done. If you're that certain, then you will get there, especially if you just play like 10 minutes a day. They say 10 minutes a day is enough. And from what I've learned teaching people, 10 minutes a day is enough. You know, you can learn the ditch playing 10 minutes a day. Your brain will, there's intelligence in your body. And if you take that thought and run with it, your body will figure out what to do. The circular breathing will come, you know, especially if you take a few lessons. You just keep practicing and doing the drills, and your brain will bridge the gap. You know, and the same is true of other instruments. You know, another great melodic instrument that I took to was the Native American drone style flute. And, you know, that one is designed to be learned quickly. It's got a nice, simple scale that you can pick up quickly. And immediately you can start getting some satisfaction out of it, you know, and start just playing with the sound, modulating the sound, playing the scales, and you can play any combination of notes. There's so much satisfaction to be found in having an instrument, and it opens up a whole nother dimension of your being. You know, we have that on a soul level. We are vibrational and musical beings. And when that's completely absent, or we leave it only to others to do, I feel like that aspect of our being is kind of missing. And you don't know it until you go and take it on yourself, you know, and start making sound yourself, which is why the drum circle is so powerful, right? You know,
that's a really good point you're making. There's many great good points, but you're talking about how the didge is accessible. It's actually the oldest wind instrument in the world, right? So
1,000 years purportedly.
Right, and so it's essentially a hollowed out branch tree, and you just what do you do with your lips, Trevor?
It's called blowing raspberries. Yep. It's like
everybody who's watching right now, everybody take a deep breath in, including you, John. Come on.
And you just put on the little Mona Lisa smile. So you start your motor, then you bring it up a little bit.
Anybody tuning in now thinking, do you know what? I'm going to watch the Three Amigo podcast tonight, and they've just tuned into us. They're going to be like, what? Trevor, I got a question for you.
Sure.
Now, you talked about the circular breathing. Now, I'm getting really like deflated because I'm just about getting, like I said, I'm only 11 hours in, but I'm really trying, and I think I've got the sound, but then when I run, I gas. Now, Alan has told me to try the straw in the water trick. You keep the bubbles going. Now, I'm crushing that. Like, I can blow bubbles all day, but when it comes to the ditch, like, it's tough. So selfishly, I'm asking this question for me, and probably anybody else who's learning the ditch and still trying to, like,
I want to know.
What would you recommend? Do I just spend 10 minutes practicing circular breathing, or do I spend 5 and 5, or what would you recommend?
Well, first I'll offer you a little perspective shift. You can already do it, and the way I know that is you chew food and you breathe. Because you're chewing your food, your jaw's going up and down, you're breathing, right? And the core of circular breathing is what I call the squeeze breath, where it's like squirting water out of your mouth, just like squirting water out of your mouth, right? Except you add one thing, you breathe into your belly at the same time. You know, usually what I have people do is I'll have them slow down, do a 4-second inhale, 4-second exhale, do that 2 or 3 times just to get them to realize it's normal breathing with one little addition. Breath.
Sounds real simple.
Yep. You know, and you do have to basically trick your brain, you know, because your brain's used to breathing when your jaw goes down, but you got to train it to breathe when your jaw goes up, because that's what allows you to keep the vibration. You need very little air to keep that lip vibration going. And that's the drone.
I've got a long way to go because I can't even eat and breathe at the same time. Like,
well, I want to know. Alan has a really good story. He shared in front of a crowd of 2,000 people one time, and there was 2,000 people. We're having this conference, and Alan starts to teach people or tell people how he's blowing raspberries in front of 2,000 people. Anyways, so Alan, I want to hear your story. How did you learn how to do this whole thing?
Well, I'll make a long story really short. I didn't have a didgeridoo. I'd seen Trevor. I thought I am going to learn to circular breathe. So I started with the core from wrapping paper, and I would take that and I would lie in bed with it while my wife was getting ready for bed.
Are you talking like Christmas wrapping paper? Like
yeah, Christmas wrapping paper, that cardboard tube. So she would be in the bathroom doing her thing, and I'd hear the electric toothbrush going. So I knew I had 10 minutes or so. So I'd be lying in bed, and after a couple nights, probably 2 or 3 nights of doing this, I thought I won't swear, but I said to myself the swear word, and I went, I think I got it. But I wasn't sure until we were driving down to the ski hill. We ski every weekend down at Castle Mountain, and we usually go down on a Saturday morning and get up at 5 o'clock, leave the house 5:30, and I would take a toilet paper roll with me. And I would be driving down. It's not distracted driving because I was paying attention. Nobody was on the road at that early. And Jackie's trying to sleep in the seat, and I would be blowing on the toilet paper roll. And I thought, shit, I really have it. And I looked down at Jackie. I said, is this bothering you? You got to remember, it's 6 o'clock now. She looked up at me and she said, no, it's okay. So I did it some more. Does that sound like I'm circular breathing? And she said, yeah, I think you got it. So I went and bought that didge that John has in the background.
Alan, that's the best story I've ever heard.
I'm gonna try that tonight when I go to bed. I'm just gonna take a toilet roll into bed and surprise my wife with some circular breathing.
You know, I'm so lucky to those people who don't know who Jackie is. I mean, Alan's wife, Jackie, she's an incredible human being. She's extremely patient, and I can just see her in the car just being like, nope, doesn't bother me at all. No problem.
I know.
Go on, Alan. She's like, go for it. She's the best.
I mean, I was wanting to tell myself to shut up.
Right? You were kind of hoping somebody would tell you to stop.
Stop
right?
it.
It's true.
Glad you didn't, brother.
Yeah. And so now, Alan, what are you doing with your didgeridoo habit?
Yeah, I'm actually presently making a new didge, and it's got a really interesting twist in it. The didge is actually twisted. So when the limb died, I only make my didges from standing dead trees, aspen, maple, and this one's poplar, and it's got a really interesting twist. So I'm quite excited to see how it's going to turn out.
So from blowing in a cardboard tube to finding dead wood and building didges, and I'm serious, guys. The didges that Alan is putting out there, they're beautiful. They're pieces of art. They're absolutely incredible. One of them has these tracks from termites that he's managed to maintain. It's really beautiful.
I remember when Alan first told me he was doing that. We were at the Friday night. We were about to go in, and he said, "Can you help me with the drums on the back of my track?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So I went to go and help him, and he said, "Can you just hold this for me a sec?" I'm like, "Alan, why'd you have a big piece of wood?" He's like, "I'm going to make a didgeridoo out of that." And I didn't date you at all. I was like, that's what he's going to do. And they are beautiful. They're absolutely amazing. So they're really, really nice. And they sound great too.
My greatest pleasure, dead serious, is when I get a didge made and I take it to Friday night. I'm always hoping that Trevor's there. And if he's not there, I'm quite disappointed, because I want to hear Trevor play the didge. That brings me so much pleasure, just hearing you play it.
It is my pleasure. You know, when you're a didge player, a new didge is like Christmas every single time.
Okay, well, you got another one coming soon.
Outstanding.
And like we've been talking about the didgeridoo for a really long time, but Trevor, you don't just play the didge. I mean, you've evolved from. It's funny how just a hollowed piece of wood can unlock just infinite potential, sound healing potential. Do you want to tell us about kind of maybe where you're at now, and then maybe where you'd like to go in terms of your musical evolution?
Oh my goodness. Holy cow. There's like literally no sky, no ceiling, no limit. Course, I see myself bringing in with the cosmic soundscapes that I'm creating with Jolene. She's my partner. I can see myself bringing in some keys, some pads, and synth. I can see myself bringing in the guitar at some point, because there's just magical combinations of chords that you can play that I've discovered. It's just having that professional level of confidence. I find stringed instruments more challenging, frankly, than didgeridoo. Some would say it's the opposite, but I find stringed instruments more challenging to play cleanly. But yeah, I can see myself layering sound with a looping station. Again, just opening up more realms of possibility with that. And of course, our instrumentation keeps expanding. Some of these instruments that most people probably haven't heard of, they'll hear for the first time at a soundbath, or like maybe one like ours, where it's like planetary gongs, or maybe the lesser known ones like song pods or crystal pyramids, and stuff like that.
What are song pods and crystal pyramids? Tell me more.
Song pod is this little metal kind of UFO shaped object. And when you turn it, it makes this ever so delicate little tinkling sound. And it's unique, and it is so gentle, and it's so high frequency, high vibration. It's just, there's such a sweetness. There's something that I learned in sonica, that sometimes it's the subtlest sounds that can be the most powerful and affect someone the most profoundly, because they're the most gentle.
I think I've experienced those before. I went on this sound healing journey, and the person who was kind of facilitating did some definitely the shruti box, definitely the voice, some flute, but that there was this like mystical sound going on. And I feel like it's similar to those little balls that you roll in your hands, those Chinese balls, but there was more sounding in it. Is that the same thing?
It could have been. I'm not 100% sure.
I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, for sure. There is such a range of sounds when you get into instrumentation. Sonica. I mean, Gary Diggins, the guy who taught me sonica, he said, "Hide your visa," because there's so much instrumentation to be found out there, and each one you can fall in love with. These different instrumentation around the world, and the totally unique sound they have. They can take you and transport you to a different feeling space, which I think is where music really gets its power. Its ability to shift the feeling that you have within yourself right in the moment. And that's obviously why people keep coming back to the drum circle, because it helps them, shift their feeling in the moment. It did for me big time. And then I took 1.5 years of djembe lessons, African djembe lessons, and had my brain bent trying to figure out how to play these, syncopated rhythms with the African, their sensibility around rhythm. It's so different.
Was that with Roger in One World?
That was actually with Rhythmatism, Dan Brock.
Oh yeah, Dan Brock. He was great too. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a pretty awesome guy, and he teaches a great drum class. But spent lots of time with Roger as well, and man, it's one of those Pandora's box you can open and just keep opening and keep finding more and more and more. And of course, just following your intuition. But I think one of the key things I'd like to share is like the people who really keep going with it, especially the didge and things like that, are like when you have an intention to share it in the community, that really lights the fire to keep going with it and to expand and deepen your ability to express through it, right? I mean, There's really that's the beauty of the didge, is there's no wrong way to play it, and interestingly, there is as many sounds of the didge as there are players. Every player has their own unique sound, and that principle is there in every instrument, but it seems to be particularly pronounced in didge. So, I encourage everybody to just pick an instrument and then begin to, take yourself on the journey. And again, keep telling yourself it's worth it. Success and fluency on this instrument will be worth the price I paid for it, which is, just the time and energy each day, right? It's worth it. Because if you can do it with one instrument, you can start to do it with others. And here's the thing, your brain remembers learning musical instruments. There's patterns, and your brain is a pattern recognition device, right? And it gets easier to learn new instruments as you keep going. Gary Diggins, he's just a multi-instrumentalist, right? And you can develop this capacity, and that's probably a big piece I want to share too, is I never really believed I had any ability until I found the didge.
Wow.
And then something arose within me that allowed myself to have that belief. Okay, this is something I'm going to do. Not I'm going to try, I'm going to do it. And then from that, I realized, holy crap, I can do other things too. I can play other instruments as well, and the foundation is just starting with one and then building up that confidence, and keep reminding yourself it's there. My ability to play this instrument is there because I have it in my mind. That's all I need. And all I have to do is just keep doing the little things each day that allow yourself to manifest your ability, which is already there. That was the attitude I went in with, playing the didge, learning the didge. And yeah, it's the one I keep carrying forward into life and other things now. It's a game changer.
Trevor, I think one of the biggest issues with people learning or taking on the challenge of learning a new instrument is getting past that first month of sucking at it for the first month.
Yeah.
And whether it's circular breathing or any other stringed instrument, I don't think it matters. It's like that old saying, how do you eat an elephant?
Mm-hmm.
One bite at a time. And that's the same as an instrument. One note at a time, one chord at a time. Just take your time. And research shows that even in later on in life, if we learn an instrument, it is one of the best tools that we have to build new brain, regardless of how old we are. And I think that's a really important take home. Just practice, play it, take the challenge.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
I feel like we need more than an hour.
I know. We're just getting started.
I know. I just wrote some notes, and then my mind exploded, my brain, and then I lost what I was going to ask you. But I think, like, again, go back to the last few weeks, the reason why people initiate themselves into anything and learning a new skill, whether it's a musical instrument, is because they feel inspired, is because they've heard someone play, or they have time on their hands. And I would really love for others that are not just in the Friday nights and in the community, the circle that we have here. I would really love for other people to hear you, Trevor. I think it would be amazing. I would gladly buy 100 of your albums if you had them. So my last question is to you. With you evolving and you're saying that there's no limit. The sky has no limit. Is that something you thought about? Like, maybe, because I know that you were kind of recording some stuff on your phone, because I heard it, and even on the phone, it sounded amazing. So have you ever thought about maybe putting something together and then maybe letting the general public have a taste of what Trevor can offer?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been in my space a number of times, not all the time, but periodically it arises. And thank you again for bringing it up. just to make an offering where it would be like maybe like a 2 CD set. One would be more for meditation. There'd be like a 5, a 10, a 15, and a 20-minute, tracks for meditation, depending on how much time you have. You can just put on some didgeridoo meditation music. And then another one would be really danceable, something that the best of Xavier Rudd or Shane Phillip or something like that, right? Just super fun, super bouncy. And I think, that would be a great, definitely offering and legacy to leave to the community for sure. But yeah, thank you for putting that bug in my ear again. It's
sounds like you've put a lot of thought into it.
Yeah, a little bit for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I know, and I've experienced the bounciness. I've experienced the meditative component. I think we need this, Trevor. I mean, sorry, but we're pre-ordering albums right now. So I don't know, Alan, you were part of this. John, I don't know if you were part of this as well, but the bounciness. So we had a little fun a few years ago. It was a while ago. I had a shaved head back then and a big greasy beard, and you had your DJing, and I was on the kit, and we had a night. I think it was over Christmas. And yep. Mike Walker came in and played a little bit of drumming, and Alan, you were on the SPD 30, and we were getting people moving and grooving to your DJing, and it was a lot of fun. We got to do that again.
It was so good.
In terms of the bouncing, I've just seen Trevor dance, and he didges like he dances. It's really cool. Trevor literally like bounces. Like I've never seen so much movement up and down. And it flows. It's beautiful. Actually, it's actually quite inspirational the way you move your body, and it translates itself in the way you sound as well. So I hope we've pumped your tires enough for you to just get out there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I would love to walk into a nightclub or a coffee shop, or these places they have all that have music on Friday and Saturday nights. It's not your typical Ironwood, but even the Ironwood. I'd love to go to a venue like that and hear you and a couple people. I mean, because everybody plays whatever music they're playing, and it's and I really like the alternative music scene, but to hear you on the didge with whatever Jolene's doing and what just what you're doing with your soundscape, I think you would have so many people mesmerized.
Mm-hmm.
And you would have them, you would just hold them in the palm of your hand.
Well, I mean, people can access that already. You do these sound journeys all the time. So Trevor, how do people find out about these sound journeys and these more private events that they could maybe experience with you and Jolene, for example?
Well, if you're on Facebook, just go to Less Stress Massage. It'll come up. You just search for that and it'll come up. Or you can go to the website lessstress.ca. And you can see all the offerings there. I mean, I also do just one-on-one didge therapy there. So if you want to have the didge played over top of you for 35 minutes or so, you can actually, when obviously things get going again, you can
because you're definitely speaking moistly when you're using the didgeridoo.
I usually put a blanket over top of people. So they don't get extra didgeridoo blessings.
You know what? I think that's what Justin Trudeau was trying to say. He was like, don't speak like you would in a didgeridoo. You're speaking moistly in the didgeridoo.
I wondered whether that was going to come out tonight. I thought, my gosh, we've gone the whole hour without even saying it. And it's like 1 minute to 9.
Hey, so I love that. I'm going to try and post that on the link for the Facebook when I repost it again. Trevor, thank you for joining us. John, Alan, obviously you guys are amazing, but special thanks to Trevor. And instead of doing a rumble, let's all do a raspberry with our ready? And everybody, I want you guys to do it at home because it feels really good. Ready? Take a deep breath in and go. We're all speaking moistly.
My computer's moist.
There's going to be an influx of contamination, but you know what? It only lasts for a little while. So stay home, stay safe, everybody. Thanks, Trevor. We love you.
Thank you, guys.
And yeah, I
Thanks,
can't
brother.
wait. You gotta come right here, man. I got a bunch of microphones waiting
I was
for you.
noticing that.
And
Looks good.
it's not only looks good, buddy. It sounds good. It's a lot of fun. All right.
Awesome.
See you guys later, my friends.
All right.
Bye.
Take
Yeah,
it easy,
bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye.